Hello, thank you for joining. I'm Jannarone, editor-in-chief of ICR Edge, here on the sidelines of the ICR Conference in Orlando, Florida, with Chris Ruddy, who is the founder and CEO of Newsmax. Chris, thanks for joining me.
Great to be on with you.
So before we jump into Newsmax itself, I want to talk a bit about Chris's background and what led him to start the company. It's coincidentally, Chris and I were at sister platforms. I was at the Wall Street Journal. He spent some time in the New York Post. So tell us a bit about your path up until Newsmax.
Well, funny enough, I come out of newspapers, but now I'm running a cable news channel. I think it was a really good experience because the nuts and bolts of journalism, as you know, is the reporting you do, the street reporting, the shoe leather reporting in a newspaper. And I was at the Post, Pittsburgh Tribune Review, the Hoover Institution for a while as a media fellow. And then I started a digital platform called Newsmax in 1998.
Wow. So okay, so you've been in business a long time then, but I feel like Newsmax has rose to prominence more recently. Is that fair? You're now, I think, the fourth largest cable news network.
I think as a digital media property, we've been a player. We established that as the first 10 years, but as a cable news channel and as a national overall, I think we're one of the major news outlets now in the United States, and we're definitely punching above our weight. We're the only real independent news media with the carriage and the influence, I think. We're not owned by a big conglomerate.
No, that's a really good point. And now that I think about it, most of your competitors certainly are. So tell me, how do you build awareness when you're trying to cultivate a following for a cable news network? I mean, one thing is social media, of course, and I know that Newsmax is active on several platforms. So tell me about your philosophy on that.
We're on a lot of platforms, and my view is that the new media is a multi-platform media business. We are in the digital world. We are in emails. We're in social media. We have 15 million social media followers. We have huge abilities for texting and push notifications and apps. We have over 8 million app downloads to our Newsmax TV app. It's free if anyone wants to go and download it. It takes just a couple of minutes. The website, we have a magazine still that has about 700,000 monthly readers.
Wow.
So there's a lot of things we do. And then we're actually doing more in radio now. Newsmax wants a total ecosystem, and we're very close to having that for people that want news. And we believe that we represent heartland news that the public is not getting from the mainstream news outlets, and that's why they're flocking to us. We reach about 40 million Americans monthly.
Wow. So speaking of heartland, I think that everyone has noticed in the last several years a polarization politically in news coverage out there. How do you feel about that? You got MSNBC on one side, right, and then you got Fox News on the other side. How do you fit into all that, and what do you make of that?
Well, I think people always say they want balanced news, but their viewing habits are they like news that affirms their values and viewpoints oftentimes. And Fox has owned 50% of the news market over 20 years and with no challenger. I think that's not good for competition. It's not good for the country to have only one perspective. Newsmax positions itself as an independent news agency with a center-right position, a conservative position. But we have people like Alan Dershowitz as our chief legal expert. Mark Halpern's our chief political analyst. Very well-known moderate, I think we're even liberal individuals. So we've always strived. Greta Van Susteren leads our nightly news every night. She's well-known. I think she's the incarnation of fair and balanced news. And we like that, but we also want to have a perspective and a voice on some of our shows. We do that. I think Fox is heavily politicized, and Newsmax is a more moderate to center outlet.
Gotcha. So can we talk about some recent big news with Elon Musk and Twitter? What do you make of that? Does it impact your business in any way?
I would say that it's going to impact because it opens up social media. We've just seen a logjam with social media. The amount of political censorship has been enormous, but also frightening. The idea that the FBI was actually interfering in stories that were not related to national security, picking and choosing for the distribution of social media should frighten anyone that cares about civil liberties from left and right in the United States. We are seeing more activity on Twitter. We do feel we've been suppressed. We believe Google is the #1 purveyor of censorship through all of their products. And we're hoping the new Congress takes a look at this. We want a fair, level playing field for all sides. I would never think that MSNBC or CNN should be deplatformed as much as conservatives might not like them. But the fact is the left wants to deplatform Fox News, Newsmax, One America has already been deplatformed. Not good for democracy.
Makes sense. You know, I noticed Newsmax gives oxygen and airtime to some political figures that other networks ignore. So talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene, et cetera. You know, what's your theory on that? I mean, do you think that it's unfair that some of those folks are not getting any attention at all?
Well, let's talk about her, for instance. We will have her on when there's a major news item that pertains to her, and we'll have people on that are taking the opposite position. We actually rarely have her on. She's hardly on. We don't believe that just because somebody takes extreme positions, they should be. I think on the Kevin McCarthy speakership issue, most of our guests were people that supported McCarthy. And some people would say, well, why aren't you having on the critics more? Well, they only represent 10% of the Congress. 90% of the Congress are supporting him. Why would we give 50%? So we don't really give a lot of oxygen to far right or people that we think are extreme. But we do occasionally, like other networks, have them on.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So presidential elections coming up pretty soon here. Would you say that you would endorse a candidate, or are you against doing something like that?
If the election's already started, obviously Trump has announced, Biden is going to announce supposedly in the next few weeks. So it's in full gear. I think it's great for the news business. People love it. There's a super high engagement, and we really play an important role. We do not endorse candidates. I've known Donald Trump for a long time. And but even still, we'll always have critics of his, to his consternation, by the way, on our network. John Bolton comes on talking about foreign policy. I think John's a tremendous advocate for foreign policy. He and Donald Trump don't like each other. I think that's an understatement. And yet we'll have people like that on the conservative side. We have liberals on all the time. So I'm not going to get into the thing of endorsing. I've known Ron DeSantis even before he was in Congress. If he runs in a primary, he will have an open platform on Newsmax.
All right. One quick question on the financial side, if I can, Chris. You know, you're a private company, but would you be open to going public at some point?
We are very open to going public. We believe that having the public as part of the Newsmax mission of bringing fair and honest news to the country is a good thing, not a bad thing. We are very transparent in how we operate as a company. And I think we have a really tremendous story where we've grown without any big media backing to become one of the largest influential news agencies in the United States. We're now the 4th highest rated cable news channel in the United States. We're top 20 overall for daytime cable.
Wow.
When you think about that, as you know, there's 200 cable channels. And we haven't had the backing of like Disney, Fox News, or any of these big companies to get into the systems. So I think we're filling a huge market need, and that's only going to grow as time goes on.
All right. One last question, Chris. This has been really comprehensive. But tell me one thing about 2023 that you're most excited about, most looking forward to.
Well, I think the 23 is going to be the election. I think it's already started. We're going to have presidential debates. Newsmax is expected to host some of those for the RNC.
Oh, wow.
And they're going to start as early as, I'm told, August of this year. The first one will probably be in Milwaukee. That's going to be the site of the Republican convention. They usually do the first debate there. But the primaries are going to start Iowa at the end of the year, and then we'll go right into New Hampshire early next year. So everything is in full gear right now. So that's really probably the most exciting thing.
All right. That sounds great. Well, Chris, that was a pleasure. Thanks for joining us. Really enjoyed it.